Let's move on now to the very pressing issue of data centers in Albemarle County. And I wanted to give the floor to Sage to talk about Indivisible and Charlottesville Indivisible's efforts on this issue.
So I actually, Indivisible is not actually involved in this. I am just a member of Indivisible and have talked about this with other Indivisible members. One of, I'm going to take a little start by taking a little bit of a tangent and just note that this has been a really hard issue to talk with people about because I'll say like, oh, data centers. And then the first thing they come up with is the, well, not in my backyard. And like, they're going to build them somewhere. So let's not, be snobs and prevent them from building them in our area because some disadvantaged, more disadvantaged people are going to have it in their backyard, and that's really not the issue. And in fact, it took me a while to get my head around that. So I just want to note that that's kind of a challenge in terms of getting people aware of and caring about this. I am involved in a lot of other indivisible kind of social justice projects. I'm kind of up to my ears, but when I heard this was going on, I just decided I wanted to do something, but I needed to get a team together because I'm spread really thin, and also I'm not a science expert. I mean, very, very much the opposite. So what I proposed, and I guess Donna may have this in her letter, was trying to divvy up instead of going into the board or and speaking or sending letters to the editor listing all the different harms, is to kind of divvy those up between different people. So each different people come in and do a kind of an in-depth, compelling dive about the risks of foregoing the permit process and the benefits of keeping the permit process, and really illustrate that. And I think so. For instance, when we went to the when Rob and I, and then there was another gentleman there who talked about data centers. We all three of us spoke on the same day, and I was clearly the most ignorant person. Like I didn't even understand the question really. But I went in there and I said I wanted to focus on the dangers on the for exacerbating the climate crisis, and so I talked about the increasing number of billion-dollar climate disasters that we've had since 1980, like really illustrating that. And then also the number of deaths as related to climate change. And even though I was really ignorant about it, like when I walked out of there, actually all three of us walked out of there at the same time. The person, the news reporter there at the scene, like asked me if she could interview me because I guess I presented in a way that like really was a dramatic illustration. So I feel like if we get a team of people that can do that, that could be really helpful. Instead of just everyone repeating the same information. I think if we can also if there could be a group of people that are doing that, preparing comments for the board meeting, and then turn those into letters to the editor, then you're kind of like double, getting more bang for your buck when you're preparing these kinds of statements. I think it's important not just to talk to the board, but also try and get the community concerned. Like I said, that's challenging because of the by right issue. It's not about data centers, it's about keeping the permitting process. I think one thing that those of us who care about the environment may focus on is the risk environmental harms, but as we've learned from the last election and many times over, talking about money is really important because not everybody believes in climate change, but they all believe in money. And so, for instance, if I were going to, if I had like 10 of me to clone, I would go back in on another day and talk about our children being washed away, like literally. We lost a boy, a 12-year-old Albemarle County boy last year who was caught in the floods, right? And think of all the children that were lost in Tennessee. So like that might be just a thing, or our tax revenue, or doing something that's financially good for our community. And so we want to raise the question, like, maybe or like illustrate how that could be really harmful for the community, right? It could lead to more harms. Asheville's still recovering, right? Um, and also, I read an article today in the New York Times about how data centers will like buy, plan to build something, but it will be delayed for so many years. And so residents in the area are having to pay all this money while the plant is not even producing anything. So just, I feel like kind of breaking these things up and doing like trying to illustrate them in really dramatic ways, the risks of going with this and also the possible benefits of waiting. For instance, if they retain the special permitting process, very possible that, in a couple of years, this is such nascent technology, right? That in a couple of years, there could be much less energy intensive ways to run data centers, right? I mean, but if they just do this by right, plan, then they wouldn't be able to say, 3 years later, like, actually, from data centers now have to adopt this newer, better, greener technology. So I guess all of that to say, breaking it down, illustrating harms, risks, benefits in a more detailed way. Um, I think also one of the things that I've gotten from Indivisible is how important it is to get the community involved, so that like people don't even know this. Like I was talking to someone on Pantops, a biologist, like someone who is a professor in the Department of Biology, and he had no idea about that these things were going up. And if I understand correctly, one of the buy right centers is like near Peter Jefferson Parkway, not that far away from where he lives. So the public is really ignorant about this. And
Can you divulge who that person was?
huh?
Can you divulge who that person was? The biology
No,
professor? Okay.
no. I mean,
Just a
I want to
personal
say
interest
that.
of mine.
Oh yeah, but you know what? I bet it is like all of them. That is what I'm going to bet. Um,
And my understanding is that, and I think Rob has put this information out or detailed this information, is that there's potential for ratepayers to pay double. So are people aware of just at the state level with this data center explosion of,
yeah.
potential much higher rates for electricity?
Right. And see, that's what I'm talking about, right? And so when we go in, and if we just give a list of all these things, but that's getting missed. But that is something that would really appeal to people. Like, did you know? And I understand, like, the idea that our electricity rates could go up to 70% with the data center explosion, and then also the Trump's decision to like roll back clean energy and just go in a very regressive direction. So that's the kind of thing, like if people got that, they'd be interested. But right now, it doesn't mean anything. They don't know about it and they don't know how it impacts them. So that's what I'm hoping to get some people who could present it in a way that it really felt like real, tangible, this could hurt me. This is why I should care about this issue.
So
I'm
how
almost
do,
done. I mean,
how can
yeah.
we help you in like, collecting a team? Like,
Yeah, so I mean, it would be great to have people who can like do the understand the science and who are, decent writers. That would be helpful. Because I don't understand the science and I'm a decent writer, but I certainly can't take this project on and I don't know enough science to do that. But to get like a team and then get people together and like, okay, who's the team? And then let's make a list of the risks and the benefits and then divide them. So different people are covering different aspects and then workshop them. So it's like, well, you wrote this and or like I might write something and you might be Sage, that's okay. But I'm not really feeling it. If you could add like, this could be an illustrative example that could really amp the intensity up, that would be helpful. If people were interested also in doing some kind of rally, what I've learned in these last couple of months is that progressive groups can be the news. Like sometimes we'll go and we're just like, we're doing a press release. We're going to have this rally and we do a press release and we call the press out there and we're like, this is why this issue is important. And then we might do a rally and there might only be like 50 people at the rally, but it gets covered in the Daily Progress and in multiple media outlets. So that's something that if we could do that, and that's a way of getting into people's living rooms and on their radio shows when they're driving to work. And also you get the visual element, getting a, having presenting arguments that have an emotional impact and then doing something visually interesting to get attention, to get the press to come out there. And also people like at that meeting, Rob, when we were out there, the news person, when she covered the story, she's like, and all the people in the audience were wearing green shirts to support, in support of no data centers, but actually those green shirts were for the Jewish forest school that they're trying to build. So it had nothing to do with us, but it like got that person's attention, which was like a funny kind of illustration. Yeah, so a team willing to break it out, divide, cover things, workshop it to make it the strongest it can be, getting some public action out there. I don't think it's a huge lift. I mean, I think even with like 10 people, we could do something. Oh, and then when they have the board meetings, pack, everybody brings like 3 to 5 people. And when someone is speaking in support of data centers, you at the board, you like raise your hand. Maybe people are holding an image of like a small image of the earth. You can't do signs, but something to be like, yeah, we are all here and we are all standing there to like show a united show of support. So that's what I'm thinking. I guess to come back, I talk fast and I talk a lot. A team of people willing to write, or even if it's not a whole team, like some people. I've got a guy who works, a techie guy who kind of, he just reached out to me and said he would be willing to volunteer. So I have 2 volunteers so far. I'm looking for at least 4 more or 8 more. That would be great.